Welcome to the Under Construction Podcast with me, Martin Williams. Here we talk about how to build or rebuild your life one step at a time. Let's get to work. And thank you for tuning in to the Under Construction Podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast with an S. Today, I wanted to talk to you about the law of balance. Now, the law of balance is kind of, it's been around forever, but this is, more or less my take on it. We know all you have to do is look around and understand that the world is basically like a dichotomy, right? For lack of a better word. We have left and we have right. We have hot, we have cold. We have up, we have down. We have good, we have bad. We have slow, we have fast, right? And you can just go on and on and on and on and on. And so a lot of times what happens is that we go through life and we don't really think about this on a tangible level as far as our day-to-day lives, right? And so when bad things happen, you may have a bad day or bad week, bad month, or, hello 2020, a bad year. And it can get really, really frustrating because you feel like, man, this has just been the worst time, right? I've certainly been in that situation where it just felt like nothing was getting better. It felt like nothing was improving, felt like nothing was really, just working, right? So what do you do in that situation? Well, what a lot of people do is that they get depressed, they get down. And, that's certainly an understandable reaction in a country where, millions and millions of antidepressants are sold every year and, the like. And so, a lot of people aren't invested in, the depression of individuals. So, what do you do in those situations? Well, first of all, you have to understand, and it's something that I've learned over the years, is that nothing is as great as it seems, and nothing is as bad as it seems, right? So I want to be very transparent here. For about a year, my now wife, we had a child. Okay, I'm going to go back. I was getting ready to tell the story, and I said, well, I got to place the pin back a little bit further back, right? So when we had our daughter, we really went through a rough season, and I was out of work, and, she was dealing with, being a first time mom, which, can be very difficult for a lot of women. And we basically did not make it, right? So we were together for 4 years, and, I took a job out of state, and she was very upset with that, even though I hadn't been working for a number of months, and there really wasn't anything to be had in my field in that particular area. So I left the area for work. I came back as much as I could, but in the midst of that, we broke up. Okay. So when I came back, I was able to find a job closer. And we started again, and it quickly fizzled out again. And we were just not in a good place to really be in a relationship, for a number of reasons. So we finally made a decision to raise our daughter as co-parents. And so it was, that had its challenges. And part of the challenges were caused by me, because I had started dating again, and I had started dating someone that my wife knew. She was a friend. And it was a mistake. We'll just put that out there. It was a mistake at the time. I didn't see it as such. And so I entered into a relationship with her, right? And we were together for about a year. And during that time, it really wasn't bad. It was actually good. It wasn't, the relationship itself was fine. It seemed a lot better than it actually was, because not only was I engaging in, really, it was not appropriate for me to date this woman, right? Not only was I engaging in that, I was doing damage to my daughter's mom, and I was also doing damage to my daughter, even though she was so young at the time. She didn't really understand it, but I was still doing damage. And so, even though on the surface things seemed great, they weren't. And the thing about life is that whatever's on the inside comes out. And in my heart, I knew it was wrong. And it's like, as time went on, I just was not, things just kind of unraveled. And then I decided to end the relationship. And I didn't want to hurt the woman. You know what I mean? I tried to be as, I tried to be as diplomatic as possible, but it was just time. And there was just a lot of pressure on me as well to end it. But really, looking back on it, it wasn't so much the pressure from people. It was the pressure from, from God, basically. It was like spiritual pressure to end it, right? So I took a long trip on that to tell you that sometimes, things aren't as good as they seem, right? I'll use a less emotional example. Maybe you get a credit card and it's like, oh man, it's $1,000 credit limit. And, if you're not disciplined financially, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go to the store and just buy a bunch of stuff that you don't need, right? And so you buy a bunch of stuff you don't need, and now you got this bill, and you got this bill that's going up in interest. Excuse me. You got this bill that's going up in interest, and, by the time most people pay off their credit cards, they've paid way more than what they initially used it for. So maybe you spend $1,000, but you end up paying back $1,500 because of the interest. I mean, that's why credit card companies exist. They exist to make money. So, it seemed good at the time, but really, you would have been much better off just saving the money and buying it cash. So things aren't always as good as they seem. So when things are going really well, what you have to do is that you have to remain humble, right? You remain humble and you remain non-emotional as far as the good is concerned. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy life and you can't enjoy the good, but always understand that, life is, life has that dichotomy going, right? So, it may be good now, but, I'm going to always remain vigilant and remain humble. I'm never going to think that I'm better than somebody else, or that things are going so well that I don't, have to stay on top of my practices and, not exercise and not do my, not pray or anything like that. Things are never so good that I don't need to stay on my toes, because I do, right? Now, the flip side of that is, when things are really not going well, right? Maybe you've lost employment, maybe your business numbers are down, maybe you're having issues in your relationship, you might be headed toward a divorce or a breakup. When things are really bad, remain hopeful, right? So when things are good, remain humble, but when things are bad, remain hopeful. And when I say hopeful, it's always this expectation that things can get better. Things can get better, and it's going to get better. I truly believe that. It will never be this bad forever. Think about the rainiest day that you can possibly imagine, right? Where it just rained and rained and rained and rained and rained and rained to the point that it caused flooding, right? And it rained to the point where, they had to shut down roads and things like that. But even as bad as it got, it always cleared up, right? It always cleared up. The rain eventually stopped because that's what rain does. It stops. It never rains perpetually. Even in the rainiest places in the world, it seems like it rains every day, but it really doesn't. I remember reading a story where people in London, they say one of the biggest complaints is that it just rains all the time, but in actuality, it only rains about 150 days a year, which is still a lot, right? But it's not all the time. It's less than half, right? So it's all in how you see it. But my point is, even as bad as things seem, you never want to allow your emotional state to sink to the level of where you think things are, right? You may be going through a rough time right now, but if you allow your emotions to take over, what happens is that when your emotions take over, you start acting from that lower place. So let's say you had a really rough day, flat tire, late to work, the report that you sent wasn't right. And it just seems like a domino effect. Things are just getting worse. If you allow your emotional state to get low, you start acting from that state, you start talking from that state, and you start basically reprogramming your mind from a state of depression. And what happens is that you start, it snowballs because you start doing things from that place, right? That initial shift of, whether it's good or bad, you have to remember to stay even keeled, meaning that you have really good days that are just really going well. And it's it's you want to ride the wave, but the thing about waves is that they die down, right? That whatever wave that you're on, if you surf, I don't surf, but watch it, right? If you surf, that wave can go really high and then it can go down, right? And so it's kind of like that with life. You want to be positive, and there's nothing wrong with being positive and having a good spirit and good nature about yourself, but just understand that wave can go down. So you stay humble when the wave is up, but when the wave is down, you stay hopeful, meaning that you never allow yourself to get to a place where you start acting like what you see around you, okay? When you start reflecting that really horrible day and you start acting from that place, what happens is, the mistakes get more frequent. You start kicking the dog, you start, cursing at the cat, you start cursing out your kids, you start being nasty to your spouse because you are not really thinking or acting from a healthy place, okay? Bad things are going to happen to everyone, but you have the power to remain in control as long as you say, when I'm up, I'm humble. When I'm down, I'm hopeful, right? And not even when I'm down, when things are down, when things look bad, I remain above the fray, okay? Because basically, when I keep my pardon me, when I keep my emotional state above what's happening around me, I'm forcing everything around me to come up to where I am. It's got to come up to where I am because I'm not moving. But when I go in the direction of my emotions, then it's like feast or famine. It's like up or down. It's all, I'm up today, I'm down tomorrow. Up today, down tomorrow. You don't want to live like that. Okay. That's a very stressful way to live. You want to live on like an even keel, but trending upward, right? So I'm trending upward. So, I'm inching upward. I'm not so high that, nothing can touch me. But I know that's not true. But at the same time, because I'm raising the level around me, I'm never going to get too low because I decided that I'm going to stay at this level. And then, if things are not going well, I'm staying at this level and I'm forcing everything to come up to where I am. So what you want to do is that you want to start thinking from a non-emotional place, right? Let's say like a bird poops on your car after you just washed it. So you just look at the poop and it's like, oh, okay, that's something, right? Right? Because the temptation is to get pissed. The temptation is, chase that bird if you could, right? Or, put a curse on that bird or something, right? That's the temptation, but that's not healthy, right? And, it's not healthy to let it ruin your day. You don't need to let that ruin your day. That's not something to ruin your day over. Your headphones, one of your headphones might stop working, right? That's not something to ruin your day over. Someone at work didn't do what they were supposed to do. It can be frustrating, but it's not something to ruin your day over. Like you don't have to bring yourself down to wherever that is, right? Like, bad things are happening. You don't have to bring yourself down to that place. You can stay above it. And the way you stay above it is you take the emotions out of it. It's like, oh, this person didn't send a report. Okay, well, I'm going to send it. And then if somebody says, well, why was the report late? You can just be truthful. It's like, well, I think Susie just forgot to send it. But it's not a big deal. Here it is. Right. And so you take the charge out of it, right? You take the despair and everything else out of it. And you just basically decide, okay, I'm in control. When you take emotion out of it, you're in control. Now, emotions are powerful, and I'm not saying to live your entire life without emotions. Okay. I'm saying in certain cases, you have to take the driver's wheel. You got to take the steering wheel away from your emotions, and you've got to drive the car. The real you has to drive the car until you get to a place where your emotions can do whatever they're going to do. Okay. Don't suppress emotions. If you want to be upset, be upset. Okay. Be angry, but get it out of you and then make a non-emotional decision, make non-emotional choices, and think from a non-emotional place where you become the observer, whereas, before you might have been the person who got pissed when everyone else was pissed and, happy when everyone else got happy. But, you're making your own decisions on how you're going to react from here on out. And trust me, it works. It really does work. When you start thinking from a non-emotional and a non-judgmental place, you can handle the ups and the downs that life inevitably brings a lot better and a lot healthier for yourself and those around you. So I went a little longer than I anticipated I'd go, but hopefully you got something out of it. And, it helps you. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Under Construction Podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the Under Construction Podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. For more information on Guided Expressions courses and products, go to guidedexpressions.com/products.